If you'd like online business explained to you in a way that you can actually understand, go to latenightim.com/explain. It's completely free and I made it just for you. Now, how about an episode? Episode 177.
Late Night Internet Marketing.
This week on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, I deliver the second installment of a two-part series on side hustle tips. Practical tips that you can use to manage time better in your side hustle business. All this and more on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
The Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
You've been working for somebody else, but you want a business to run yourself. You want to know how to start and where to begin. Can you get out your comfort zone, my friend? Yes, you can do it right when it's late at night. At the end of the day, your dreams burning inside. So keep it up and you will find that you're building your business one night at a time.
And now, broadcasting late at night from a little studio in the big state of Texas, your host, Mark Mason.
Hey, how is everyone? I am so excited. I just opened up a box from Amazon and I got copies, actually 2 and 3 of the Superfans book. I had pre-ordered it. One copy for my 12-year-old who wanted his own copy. That's in the show notes, a picture of him holding that book before the first day of school. He's really excited. He's going to read that as a nonfiction book that he's going to put on his reading list this year. He's excited to read another one of Pat's books. He actually also read Let It Fly. I recommend Superfans. It's super awesome. I'll tell you a quick story about Superfans at the end of the show. And for those of you that are new to the show that don't know, after the show music plays out, I usually have some kind of anecdotal story or something that I thought was humorous or something cool that's extra bonus material. And quite frankly, it's a special thing that I do for my regular listeners that I just put in at the end of the show. It's kind of the after show. And so if you're new to the show and you haven't experienced that before, wait for the music to end and you'll hear me come back and I'll tell you my special story about Superfans. But before we do that, I want to get into this week's show, which is all about tips that you can use in your side hustle business. Last week, we talked about success tips, and these were kind of intellectual, strategic tips that you could use in your side hustle business to help you be successful. And the idea for that episode came from the main stage at FlynnCon, where I promised people that I would do such an episode. Well, after that episode was done, I thought, the other thing that people really need, and people that were specifically that I talked to at FlynnCon really needed, were tips that they could put into action today. It's one thing to have the right strategy. It's one thing to understand why you're doing what you're doing and generally how to do it. But it's another thing to have actually actionable tips that you can put into service today. I'm going to give you at least 15 on this episode. Let's get to work.
It's time to get to work building your internet business. One night at a time.
Okay. Now, my first tip has a lot to do with stuff that we talked about in episode 176. And that is that, we talked about having this plan. And my first tip for you is to know exactly what you want to do next. We talked all about having a 12-week plan and breaking that down into weeks. And my recommendation for you is every night when you go to bed, before your head hits the pillow, you should know exactly the 3 most important things that you need to get done tomorrow. And that should be your standard for bedtime. If you haven't got the 3 things that you need to do, then you should not go to bed. You should wait until you know exactly the 3 most important things that you need to do tomorrow, and you need to make sure that those get done tomorrow. And I would even recommend that you do those things first that next day. Here's one more bonus tip related to this. Don't allow those tasks to be any bigger than about 20 minutes. It's not okay to have a task for tomorrow that's something like write ebook, because writing the ebook probably is a 2-week long task or several day long task, maybe at best, sometimes a several month long task. If you're like me, your tasks, your 3 tasks tomorrow, the 3 most important tasks that you need to do to drive your most important things forward need to be no more than 20 minutes long, and you need to do those first thing that next day. Second thing is, I want you to make appointments with yourself to do these tasks or other most important things. Use a calendar. That's a big overall tip, but specifically make an appointment with yourself to do your work. So maybe if you're like me, you try to get your 3 things done before you leave for the office in the morning. And maybe if you're also like me, you try to spend at least an hour at night on your business every day. Make those appointments. And if something happens, like let's say you have a youth baseball game and you're wiped and you get home at 11:30 because the youth baseball game is halfway across town and there isn't even an hour left in the day and you're exhausted, don't just blow that hour off. Take that hour on your calendar and move it to the next day or later in the week so that you have that hour to catch up. Have integrity in your time that you reserve for yourself. But my specific tip, my actionable tip, is to use a calendar to do that. I personally use Outlook because that's also what I use in my day job. You may wish to use Google Calendar or the iCloud calendar that comes with your Apple device. Any of those are great. Use a calendar, make appointments with yourself. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, when you've got stuff to do and you've got a list of no less than 3 things, and you're doing those things first, those most important things, you're doing them first. Do the hardest one first. Start with the hard one. There's another philosophy you can use, start with a quick win. I don't like that. It allows you to get distracted and work on the stuff that you want to work on. What I want you to do is to do the hard stuff, the stuff that you tend to procrastinate. Look, it's only a 20-minute task. We decided that before. So instead of putting that task off to later in the day or maybe never, when your energy is low and you keep putting it off and now you don't get it done, I want you to do the hard stuff first. That's tip number 3. You will feel so good when you can check that hard stuff off, the stuff you didn't want to do, whether it's accounting or writing that sales copy or placing that Facebook ad, whatever it is, the stuff that takes you outside of your comfort zone. You will feel so good once you get that done. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4, have a system. You know, in the last episode, we talked about having a system, and we talked about a 12-week system that you broke down. We talked about maybe using Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner or the Full Focus Journal. That's what I use. I really like it. Have a system. Maybe your system is software. Maybe you use a Mac and you like a tool like OmniFocus. Whatever it is, have a system. You absolutely have a system. But the flip of tip number 4 is don't let the system use you. Use your system, but don't let the system use you. I see so many people that become a slave to their system, or they spend all their time keeping their system updated. Look, all you need every day is an index card with 3 things on it that you have to get done first thing that day. That's really all you need. That's the minimum. If you want another system to add on top of that, to keep a list of the projects, the big projects that span over these weeks and months, or the next task for those to get organized, I recommend that. And for that, I would recommend something like OmniFocus or Asana, or I prefer ClickUp for that because I can share those tasks with my team. Whatever systems that you use them, but just make sure that you're not a slave to them. Tip number 5, I want you to pick something today that you choose to say no to. Because when you say yes to something, you're really saying no to something else anyway, because the amount of time that you have in a day is finite. Today and every day, I want you to pick something to say no to. I don't care if it's a sales letter or that sort of distraction or an episode of NCIS that you were going to watch or the Rangers game that you were going to watch. Look, today, say no to the Rangers game and decide that you're just going to look at the box score or maybe the highlights on ESPN and say no to that so that you can say yes to something in your business. Because when you say yes to the Rangers or to NCIS or to Magnum PI or some other CBS entertainment that's designed to suck your life force away, you're saying no to something else. I want you to say no to that something else today. I want you to pick something today to say no to, and I want you to use that time that you freed up to say yes to something in your business. That's tip number 5. Tip number 6, every Sunday night, starting with this Sunday night, I want you to do a weekly review. I want you to sit down in front of your desk in a quiet place, and I want you to ask these very simple questions. What was great about this week? What are some things when you look back on the week that you're really proud of? Some things that just went well. They don't have to be huge things. Like for me this week, today's the first day of school here in Texas. I was able to take off the morning from my day job, and I was able to take my kids to school. That's a huge win. It's my son's first day of middle school. You know, it's all very exciting for us here in Dallas, Texas. But that's one win. That's a personal win. Business win, I got the podcast out on time again. That's a huge win for me. One of my big struggles is making sure that I create consistent content. It's been something I've been working on for a decade. One of the ways that I keep that going is I take the time to reflect on and celebrate that win. You've got to celebrate the win. Another huge win that we're going to be talking about in the podcast later in future episodes is that I had an amazing deep coaching session with Cliff Ravenscraft, and he's blowing my mind with all the things that he thinks are possible for me in my business. I'm not even sure they're possible for me in my business, but he is, and I trust him, and we have that relationship, and so I'm working through that. Whatever those wins are for you, celebrate those wins. Maybe your wins are, and this would be a great win for you for next week to look forward to, is that every day since you heard the sound of my voice for the last several days, whatever that will mean for you on Sunday, depends on when you're listening to this, you identified and completed 3 tasks every day. What a great streak that would be for you. That's the first question I want you to ask every Sunday is, what went great this week? Now, the second question that I want you to ask, but only after you ask the first question, is what didn't do so great, and what are you going to do to change that? So maybe the thing that didn't go so great is that you didn't plan well and you didn't get all the time scheduled that you needed to get scheduled for your business. Or maybe you didn't really spend enough time paying attention to your spouse and what they need. Maybe you need to focus on that because maybe that's one of your life priorities to balance with your business. Or maybe you tried to do a Facebook ad funnel, and that Facebook ad funnel didn't work out for you. And so what are you going to do differently? And maybe the differently that you're going to do in that case is you're going to go onto Rick Mulready's website and research better ways to do Facebook ad funnels. Whatever it is, I want you to, after you've celebrated the wins, take a look at what the improvements are. And then the third thing, obviously, is what are the 3 big things that you want to accomplish next week? Now, you know you're going to be working on 3 things every day, and you know that you're going to, maybe for you, you're going to identify at least 20 minutes per thing. So that's an hour per day that you're going to be working. So the scope of these 3 big things, again, it needs to not be totally revamp my business, launch a New York Times best-selling book, and redo my website all in 1 week. That's not going to work. The scope of your weekly thing needs to be, 10 hours worth of work at most, right? Or 5 hours worth of work at most, if that's your situation. It can't be write the book, but it could be write the first chapter or outline the book. And then you can break that down day by day. What are the 3 most important things you need to do on that day to get done your 3 big tasks for the week? And when you're going over what your wins are for the week, one of the things you're going to be doing is identifying the 3 big tasks that you identified last week. So we've got little tasks on a daily basis and 3 big tasks for each week. That's what I want you to do. Do a weekly review on Sunday night. Number 7, it's related to the just say no item. I want you to, that was number 5. I want you to pick something that is entertainment related that you're doing and stop doing it for a while. So for me, that might be watching Rangers baseball. For you, that might be surfing Facebook, whatever it is that you're doing, something that's really not adding any actual value to your life. If you can find something like that, most of us can, then I want you to do that. Maybe it means that at your day job, you stop gossiping so much at the water cooler, and you actually work a little bit harder on your day job so that you can leave a little earlier. Or maybe it's that you start working through lunch at your day job so that you can get out of there sooner and do something with your business. Whatever, I want you to find something. Maybe it's watching a TV series, or maybe you're going to decide that this season, as the new TV series come up, there's one that you used to watch that you're not going to watch anymore. Maybe you used to be an NCIS fan and now you watch Bull because you like that guy that actually used to be Anthony DiNozzo and now he's this lawyer called Bull. Maybe you're going to stop watching that one. All right. Stop doing something that's entertainment related and that's not adding value to your life. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have fun, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do things to wind down. I'm just saying for this season in your life, I want you to pick something to generate either a little more margin or a little more time for you to work on your business a little more. That's a direct actionable tip that you can do today. Number 8, really important. When you're doing your 3 things, do not multitask. I want you to pick the thing, 20 minutes, go do it and be done. Not 5 minutes and then check Facebook, 5 minutes, then make a phone call. I want you to get on task for each one of those tasks, one at a time. I don't care if there's time in between them for Facebook, but for that 20 minutes, I want you to do that. And here's a bonus tip. Get yourself an egg timer or an hourglass or something that has the right amount of time, whatever time works for you, and use that to measure your work time. And don't allow yourself to become distracted. Don't allow yourself to answer the phone. Don't allow yourself to check email. Don't allow yourself to look at Facebook. Don't allow yourself to check Instagram stories until the sand has run out of that 20-minute hourglass. You will be amazed at how that amount of focus will increase your productivity. And the dopamine hit that you're going to get at the end of that 20 minutes when that one of those 3 important tasks is done is so great that this is very quickly going to become a habit for you. And you're going to send me email and you're going to say, Mark, thank you so much because this is such a big deal for me. I guarantee you, try it. 3 tasks, 20 minutes, focus on those tasks until completion. You are going to love it. Number 9, stay organized, because one of the big ways that I find that people waste time is when they go to do their 20-minute task, they don't have what they need. When you're the night before, when you're planning this task, make sure you've got everything you need for that task before you start it the next day. And I use tools like Evernote and Dropbox to keep everything collected where it needs to be. So if you're going to write some sales copy, let's say you're going to write some sales copy tomorrow in your 20 minutes, and you know there are 4 examples of really good sales copy that are related that you have in your swipe file or that you've seen before and you need to go find, go ahead and go find those and have those ready so that when you go to write the copy, you've got the swipe copy that you're going to use for inspiration right there where you need it. Don't wait until that 20-minute task to go start to find the stuff you need. That's like saying, I'm going to go color a picture with my kid, but I don't know where the crayons are. Okay. Find the ding dang crayons before it's time to go color the picture. That's what I'm telling you. Again, that will increase your efficiency. That will keep you from being so frustrated. And it's going to get you to this very happy place where you get this positive feedback from completing reliably every day these 3 tasks. You're going to feel so good. You're not going to believe it. Number 10, I want you to spend some time thinking about getting buy-in from your family. Maybe one of your problems is you don't have buy-in from everybody that's being impacted by your business. Share your hopes and dreams with these people. Let them know what you're doing today. Let them know what your goals for the week are. Say, honey, this week I'm so excited because I'm finally going to get that ebook out. And I just want you to know, if I'm not with you, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting this ebook out, and I really believe this is going to be a big deal for us. Just that little bit of extra communication. One, it creates inclusion. It makes people in your house feel included in what you're trying to do. And 2, you might be surprised at the support that you might find that might come out of that, because your spouse might say, wow, that's really interesting. I'd really like to read that for you. Can I edit it for you? Or maybe that'd be a big help to you. Those sort of things. But I think the third and the most important thing is knowing that it's okay for you to be doing what you're doing and knowing that you have the support of people around you, that will keep that guilt from weighing on you. That will keep you from being distracted, worrying about whether or not everybody's okay with what you're doing. And that will help you succeed. You may not have buy-in from the people around you, and you may not be able to get it today or tomorrow or next week or next month, but keep chipping away at it. And I guarantee you, as you keep investing in those people and investing in that deep communication and those relationships of the people around you, they will come around as they start to see, one, how happy all of this is making you, because of our last episode, you know your why, you're working on something you care about, everything is groovy with you and in alignment with regard to your business. When they see all of that and see that they're a part of that, they're going to come around and support you, even if they don't right now. Number 11 is do things to stay motivated, whatever that means for you. I've given you a couple of ideas here, but I want you to be conscious about this, particularly during your weekly review, where I talked about celebrating success. But I also want you to set a reward for this week. Here's an idea. Take 2 ideas from this episode and decide that if you successfully implement 2 ideas from this episode, that you get a reward of some kind. I don't know what that reward is. Maybe it's eating at your favorite restaurant. Maybe you take your family out to your favorite restaurant, and you can loop in the previous tip by saying, hey, spouse, I've decided that I need to do these 2 things in my business. And if I do them, I'm going to take us out to my favorite restaurant or her favorite restaurant. And will you help me? Will you help me do that? And you can wrap all this stuff together into a nice motivation family support sandwich where you get to go to your favorite restaurant. Whatever motivation means for you, whether it's a vision board or rewards or some kind of reflection or meditation, whatever it means, do whatever you got to do to stay motivated. That's tip number 11. Zig Ziglar used to say that this motivation thing is like bathing. You can't just do it once and then you're done. You have to bathe every day. I'm going to tell you motivation is the same way, and that's why I have it as a one of these actionable tips, because you need to be planning doing some little thing every day. Maybe you review a motivational quote every day. Maybe you go to latenightim.com/motivation to sign up for my motivational Monday email newsletter. Whatever it is, whatever you need to be doing, I want you to do that. Take time to be motivated. Number 12, work in weird places. You know, one of the hacks and tips for time management is you need to have a place to work. And I definitely recommend that. It's really good if your situation allows it. If you have a desk that's your desk and it's your place to work, and people in your household know that when you're in that place, you're working, and maybe they should think twice about interrupting or bothering you because you're trying to get work done. You're in your hour zone of 3 20-minute tasks or whatever, and they should try to give you a little space there. But there's also all of this wasted time in your life where you can actually be doing things. For example, I drive to work, to my day job every day, and oftentimes I'm listening to podcasts. And when that happens, I get ideas. And when I have those ideas, oftentimes I will dictate voice memos. Now, those voice memos can be notes to me later. They can be partial content that I can give to a transcriptionist to transcribe. They can be instructions to my virtual assistant. There's all kinds of things that I can do just by talking while I'm driving down the road. Now, obviously, I want you to be careful in that situation and not do anything that is going to distract you from the road in front of you. But in my particular case, I'm driving 4 miles an hour on Central Expressway in Dallas. So safety's not really an issue when you're driving 4 miles an hour. So I got plenty of time. Other times might be in the grocery store. Maybe you're in the grocery store, you're standing in line, you're stuck there. What do you normally do? You check Facebook. Don't check Facebook. Check ClickUp or Asana, or work on maybe crossing off a task or making a phone call or sending a quick email to some potential JV partner where you're trying to invest in a relationship, knowing that there's probably great things that you can do together. Try to keep your head in your business. And I will tell you, if you do this thing, if you work in weird places like that, not only will you become more efficient, but you keep your business top of mind. And as we discussed in the last episode, whenever you're presenting your conscious mind with problems, things that you're trying to solve and do in your business, your subconscious mind is going to offer you solutions for that at the strangest times, like when you're brushing your teeth and when you're in the shower and things like that. So you definitely want to find opportunities to work in weird places. Number 13, I want you to delegate something this week. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's something that you ask your kids to do. Maybe you pay them $5 to organize some files. I don't care if it's a $20 thing on Fiverr. I don't care if it's something new for your VA. I don't care if it's finding a VA. Whatever it is, I want you to do something that's a legitimate delegation of something that you were going to do yourself. Delegate that, and then know that that free time can be used to work on one of these most important tasks. That is a key idea here. And I know what you're saying, Mark, I don't have budget to delegate, or no one can do things as well as I can do. Let me tell you something. I have people that I have been where you are. I have people doing things for me, and they're doing it better than I ever possibly could hope. Okay. I mean, there are people out there that are better than me doing almost everything. The only thing that I can do better than everybody else, really, truly, is being Mark Mason. That's the only thing that I am uniquely qualified to do. Everything else out there, absolutely everything, show notes, WordPress, transcription, accounting, you name it, graphics, all of that kind of stuff, opt-ins, email, copy, all those things, except for the parts that require me to be uniquely Mark Mason, editing this audio, for example. There are people out there that are better at it than me. I absolutely promise you that. Mike Russell at Music Radio Creative is at least 75,000 times better at editing audio than I am. Okay. I'm really good at editing audio. Mike Russell's 75,000 times better. And there are thousands of people that aren't as good as Mike Russell, but they're still way better than me. Okay. So no matter what it is that you think nobody else can do to your standards, you're absolutely wrong, except for the part that involves you being you. I want you to delegate something this week. Number 14, I want you to pick a task that you are stuck on that you can't do. And I want you to ask, is it because you've got a standard for perfection that's just too high? I want you to avoid protection. Don't avoid protection, because protection is really important, and that can apply to a number of things in your life. It's perfection that I want you to avoid. Avoid perfection. Perfection is the enemy of done. You want to make sure that you are not driving to perfection. Good enough is good enough. And sometimes B+ work is exactly what you need. And I can't remember who it was that I heard that from, Marie Forleo or somebody like that. But the idea is you do not want to invest in A+ work every time. And the reason is there's a point of diminishing returns, right? Sometimes it completely paralyzes you and you just never get the thing done. And that's the edge case for perfectionism. But most of the time, the difference between B+ work that's really good and A+ work, which is like the best on the planet, your clients and customers, they don't care. They do not care if there's 3 extra ums in your podcast. They really don't care. And not releasing that episode because you've got to take the time to edit out those ums and then you don't get around to it because you will only release perfect episodes. All that's doing is cheating your clients and customers and fans out of material that they desperately need. So what you need to do is you need to not be perfect. You need to be very effective. And effectiveness is about getting quality content out or quality work out in a timely manner. And perfection is the enemy of that timely doneness. I want you to avoid perfection. Number 15, when it makes sense, I want you to batch. Now, batching doesn't always make sense because I told you today I want you to do 3 things in 20-minute chunks. But sometimes if you're doing some kind of repeated content creation, like maybe you're doing a YouTube video every day, it might make sense to record a week's worth of videos all in one take. That way you don't have to set the lights up again. So what I want you to do is not absolutely you must batch. I want you to look and see if you've got repetitive tasks that you're doing over and over again. Usually this is around content creation, but I can imagine there could be other things too, like letting people into your course or doing some kind of administrative work that you have to do on a little bit each day or several times a week. Should you do all of that on Saturday? A really good example is email. If you're answering email, a few emails every hour, it probably makes a lot more sense to batch that and set aside 30 minutes at the end of the day and ignore your email for the rest of the day. And just at the end of the day, do all your email at once. And you may be thinking, oh my gosh, Mark, I can't go 20 minutes without answering an email. That would be heresy. No, people understand. As long as you get back to them in 24 hours, my experience is that's absolutely fine. Okay, so number 16, just two more here. I want you to work your schedule around your energy and maybe whatever's going on in your household or your extraneous circumstances that you don't have a super ton of control over. So you've got these 3 tasks. You're going to do them every day. They change every day, but some require high energy, a high level of creativity. Some require less. It just depends on what they are. You need to understand yourself well enough to understand when you've got the right energy to do that task and when your household is configured properly. So an example of the first is maybe in the morning, you're able to write really well because you're fresh and you've got that steaming hot cup of coffee in front of you, and cranking out 2,700 words early in the morning every day is easy for you. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to write at night, or maybe you're the kind of person who's so tired mentally at night you can't write. Whatever your energy situation is, you need to schedule your tasks accordingly. And the same thing goes for the situation in your household. If your kids are running around crazy at 3:30 after school and their friends are in the house and they're stirring the dog up and they're jumping in and out of the swimming pool, that might not be the right time to record a podcast, okay? Because you're going to have all that noise in the house. That might not work for you. But 1 a.m, when everybody's asleep, that might be the perfect time for you to record a podcast. Or maybe first thing when you get up, if you get up a little earlier than everyone in your house, that might be the right time. So think through those scheduling times, because if you are doing things when you have the right energy level and when you have the right situation, that will improve your efficiency and you'll be able to get more things done. That's the reason for tip number 16. Schedule around your energy. The last tip I have for you today is I want you to continue this process. Tip number 17, study productivity. Whether that means that you go read the David Allen GTD book, or you get this season, I'll be talking about Michael Hyatt's Best Year Ever product. Constantly be investing in yourself with regard to productivity. Read some blog posts, subscribe to a podcast, just have a little background noise in your life that's talking about how to be more productive and that's giving you tips like the 17 that I've given you today, because this is a continuous learning process. Like motivation, this is not a thing where you just listen to one podcast from Mark Mason and then you're done and you're incredibly productive and you've solved all your problems. I've given you 17 ideas here today. You could probably use 117 more. You pick the 4 or 5 or 6 that are right for you and you're good to go. Now, about that, if you only get one of the 17 tips today and you implement it and it makes you better, it makes you more efficient, it gives you a better ability to hack time, that is a win for both of us. And that makes me very excited.
Now it's your turn. What action are you going to take to build your business?
One night at a time.
Okay. So you can imagine what the action is for today. What tip or tips, not all 17, please, are you going to latch onto and absolutely do this week? A couple of days from the time this is recorded, these will all be well documented in the show notes. That's an example of delegation. I have someone who's incredibly talented and wonderful doing my show notes, and she does an amazing job. She'll have all 17 of these tips documented for you in the show notes. And then a few weeks from now, the full transcript will be out. So you have absolutely no excuse to identify a couple of these. You can go to latenightim.com/177, get the show notes from this episode, download the transcript, and you'll be good to go. I want you to pick a couple of these, 1, 2, 3 of these, and implement them in your life. If I had to pick one for you, if I had to pick my very favorite one, it would be make sure you wake up every day knowing the 3 small tasks that you need to complete that are most important for you to complete in your business. Ciao.
You can do it right when it's late at night.
You've been listening to the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Be sure to visit latenightpodcast.com today to leave feedback for Mark. Download special bonus content, access the show notes, and more. See you there.
Until then, go and make some great progress on your internet business. One night at a time.
One night at a time.
So as promised, I wanted to tell you about Superfans. I love this book. I recommend that you go buy this book. If you want to find it on Amazon, you can go to latenightim.com/superfans, and that will take you directly to Amazon. It's available in Kindle format, hardcover format, and as an audiobook. And it's absolutely fantastic. And there are so many things to love about this book. One, it's really fun and easy to read. It's not one of these mind-numbing, kind of boring business books. It's actually very enjoyable to read. In fact, I enjoy reading Pat's stuff sometimes even better than some of my favorite fiction authors, just because he's so entertaining. And it's just a delight to read the things that he writes because they're real. He speaks from his experience. You know, at one point in the book, he talks about when he was a waiter at some Italian restaurant. I can't remember the name of it. It's a very common one. But he talks about how he used to have a competition between the other wait staff and this customer named Albert. And so he just tells all these stories that I really, really enjoy listening to. So I highly recommend the book. I bought a copy for myself, and I bought a copy, you'll see in the show notes, a copy for my son who wanted his own copy because he has a YouTube channel and a blog and he is doing some live streaming on Twitch and stuff like that. And he's got a drop shipping website that we've talked about a little bit before. And he's not super hardcore hard over on any of that stuff at the ripe old age of 12, but he's making some progress, and he respects and loves Pat and Pat's work. So he wanted his own copy of the book. So my recommendation to you is that you read the book, but I wanted to tell you why this book is so special to me. I feel like this is my book. And Pat's probably laughing if he's listening to this, but Pat has done this presentation for years now regarding Superfans. He has this amazing keynote presentation that he gives. And I think it was a year and a half ago that we were at Social Media Marketing World, and we were walking from his keynote presentation that he had just made about Superfans to close the conference. It was the closing keynote presentation for the whole conference. And we were walking from there to dinner. And we were walking to dinner we were going to meet Michael Stelzner, Ray Edwards, and Cliff Ravenscraft, and Leslie Samuel for dinner, which is our mastermind group. So this is our annual pilgrimage to San Diego where the entire mastermind group gets together face to face. And Pat and I had this conversation where I just insisted that he write this book. He had not yet written it, and he was just coming off another book, and books are a tremendous amount of work. And I think at that point he wasn't sure if he wanted to do it, and we talked a lot about how I was absolutely sure that he could do it. Now, he's had other conversations with people that have told him exactly the same thing, and I'm not saying that I'm the reason he wrote the book, but I am saying that it was immediately obvious to me, knowing Pat's story and seeing the keynote presentation, that this absolutely had to be a book, because I knew right away how many people it was going to help. And so I feel like even if I wasn't the tipping point for Pat writing the book, that I just feel vindicated that this book is out. And I'm constantly reminding Pat that this is my book, really, that I'm the reason the book exists, even though that's not even slightly true. It's awfully fun to say. So that's my story around Superfans. I definitely recommend that you read this book. It really is fantastic. And again, you can go to latenightim.com/superfans and check it out. It's really great. Ciao.
Late night internet marketing.
Hey, it's Mark again. I wanted to tell you one more time about this absolutely free resource that I have for helping people who are trying to get the big picture for internet marketing, actually get started and understand what all their choices are. If that's not you, there's no more content. You can skip to the end. But if you're someone who came to this podcast because you're searching for how to get started online and you just can't cut through all the noise, I get it. That was me. In 2007, when I was trying to get started, there were so many people throwing offers at me that I really couldn't even understand what all the different business models were. I couldn't understand how money moved around on the internet, and I couldn't really get a grip on what direction I wanted to go in so I could figure out how to move forward. I've created a free video resource for you just for that purpose at latenightim.com/explain. In several short videos, I just explained to you what internet marketing is all about and what online business is all about and the different options that you have for starting an online business. There's nothing to buy there. You just sign up for access and you get the videos just like that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you know someone who's in a same situation, send them that link, latenightim.com/explain. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what people are thinking that are in the exact same position that I was in more than a decade ago in 2007. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. And in some ways, it seems like an entire lifetime ago. Again, that's latenightim.com/explain.
Late night internet marketing.